Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hello, all my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another episode of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Macy, and I'm so excited to have you listening. And I hope that you get a lot of value out of listening to these episodes. I also want to thank anyone ahead of time, in advance, and current if you have recently or will leave a written review for me on iTunes. That helps me become more visible on the charts, and it helps people find me, which is really important because if you know someone that needs the messages we talk about here at Becoming Your Highest Self, I would love if you would share the podcast. Tag me in your Instagram stories, tag me in your Facebook stories, tag me in Facebook posts. I absolutely love that. It makes me feel good when I know that the podcast is resonating with you. If you don't know, when people podcast, most times, I would say 90% of the time, it's just like out of pure love and dedication for what message they want to share. We don't get paid for it a lot of times unless people have that whole ordeal set up. I don't even know how to do that. So for a lot of us, it's just dedicating our time and our energy and focus to giving you free content to help you through something. So it means a lot when someone writes a review or leaves a review or tags me on Instagram or, shares the podcast with their friends, because the more that we can get the message out, the more people that we can touch and we can help, and it really means a lot. And speaking of which, last week I had a PayPal notification come through my phone, and that's always exciting as a business owner, right? Like to see a PayPal notification come through. But I didn't recognize the name immediately. I was like, who is this? This is not someone in my immediate network. And I want to look and see who this is. And shortly after the PayPal notification came through, I got a Facebook message about, hey, I just signed up for your Becoming Her mastermind, which, side note, is my ongoing mastermind where once you invest, you're in it for life. You have access to me as your coach for life. You get into all of my programs. So when I'm talking about my money program or I'm talking about inner mastery, you get access to all of that for no additional cost. So it's a really great program. But anyways, I get this notification that this person has signed up for the Becoming Her mastermind, and I'm so excited, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look at our Facebook thread, and the only other message that we had was this client now of mine saying, hey, I found your podcast randomly and I've been listening to it and I love it and I just wanted to thank you for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad and excited that you found my podcast. And she lives in New Mexico, which is so exciting. I get so excited. So she signed up and now she's a client of mine. And it just reminded me the power of our message and how important it is not to silence ourselves when we have something that we need to say, especially when we know it can help other people. And that's what this podcast is all about for me, is sharing the journey that I've been on the last 6 years of doing personal development and really sharing that with you guys, so hopefully you can get yourself in a place of more awareness and spirituality and inner work and taking radical responsibility for your life. So this was so exciting to me. And last night I was laying in bed and I just felt so grateful because I remember the days that I prayed for clients that were in all different time zones. So I have clients now in Mountain Time and Eastern Standard Time and Central Time, and I don't even know, and then whatever time it is in New York, I don't know what time. I'm so bad at all of this, but I once prayed for clients that would be in all kinds of time zones, that would commit to this work so deeply that no matter what time I offered the call, that there would be dedicated people in my coaching programs who show up even when it's not not everybody's working with the same time zone. And I just remember like that being a really big deal for me and feeling like, oh my gosh, I've made it when I have clients in all different time zones. Because I remember seeing my coaches coach people in different time zones, but also people in different countries, which is like a next goal of mine to sign clients that are in different countries. And I would watch these dedicated people show up to a coaching call that was maybe like 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, and yet it'd be like 2 a.m. for this client somewhere else in the world. And I remember thinking like their dedication was just unbelievable, that they would stay up that late or wake up that early, to get on a coaching call with a coach they admire from all the way across the world. And so that's just something exciting that I pray I have that in the future. And I prayed for, clients in all time zones. And I'm just so grateful for anybody that listens to this podcast, especially if I don't know you and I've never met you, and, maybe we've not even built a relationship. Maybe you just listen to this and we're not even social media friends, or you've never said anything if we are social media friends and you're maybe like following me on Instagram. Say hi, you guys. I would love that. I love to make connections. I love to meet new people. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're enjoying it, or you just want to say hello, to build a relationship so it doesn't feel like you're listening to a stranger, I would love to say hi to you. So just do that. Just, I'm not going to bite. So today I wanted to chat with you guys about something that just keeps coming up. It keeps coming up over and over and over again. And I think that it's, a really important topic to talk about, and that is feeling the fear and doing it anyways, okay? What fear comes down to is two things. You can look at it, and you've probably heard this quote, but it's either face everything and rise, or fear everything and run, okay? Our fear-based responses come from predicting that we are going to feel horrible, we're going to feel bad. And because the human experience involves feeling bad, but our brain doesn't like that, it oftentimes will keep us very stagnant in where we're at in life. So what I come across all the time are clients and even family members and friends, and sometimes even my husband, where it's like, I really want to do this thing and I'm not doing it because XYZ. And they have all of the reasons in the world of why they're not doing it. Like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have this. I don't have that. And they're focused on every reason why they can't. And a lot of times it's not even that. It's like when we are feeling fear, we often mask that fear with, truth be told, excuses that feel very, very validated and real to us in the moment. But if you really, really, truly want something, there is nothing that can stand in your way. I went to a dinner or lunch, I guess you would call it, with a friend earlier this week, and then again on the weekend. And in both of those conversations, we were just talking about, creating and doing things that scare you, doing things that are different and having no regrets and rising up to the challenges that life presents and figuring out a way. And I think that it's just so important to know that fear is a liar. There's actually nothing you really need to fear. And that response has been built in us from way, way, way back when we needed it to survive. Like, we needed fear really, really badly. We needed that, our sympathetic nervous system to kick in and that fight or flight response to kick in from way back when we were hunters and gatherers of our food. Like, if we were out and we lived in a cave, and we needed to hunt in order to survive, and then a lion or tiger came out of the woods where we were, we needed that fight or flight response to send our body into, that fear, so that way we could run and we could escape the danger. But now we still have that response in our body, but we don't have those imminent threats the way that we used to back in the day when we were hunters or gatherers. So as a result, a lot of us are dealing with fears that feel very real and feel very scary, but in the greater scheme of things, it's not a matter of survival or not. So our brain is turning on and sending these stress chemicals through our body, saying that something is definitely wrong and you need to run and you need to hide and you need to feel safe. And the reality is it could be our body is having that very huge response over speaking in front of 20 people, right? I mean, I'm sure you can relate. I hated public speaking. I actually would feel like I was going to die. And it was because my body was like, hey, fight or flight, like we need to run away from this. This is scary. You're going to die. And the truth is, I wasn't in any kind of actual danger, but my body believed that I was. And so a lot of times our body believes that we're in a lot of danger when we are not. And so people ask me all the time, how do you do the things that, scare you? And I know this is a very unpopular answer and something that you probably don't want to hear, but you do it anyways. You face the fear. And the way that I do that is by channeling my highest self. It's the whole purpose of this podcast, okay? If you can think about who you desire to be and act from that place, not who you are today, not who you are with the fight or flight fear-based response, but who you desire to be. Does the you, is that the right way to say that? Like the you that you aspire to be, does she or he speak in front of thousands of people without breaking a sweat? If that's something that you desire and you desire to be on a stage, speaking in front of tons of people, sharing your message, the way to get to that place in your life when you can't imagine it now because you can't even speak in front of 2 people is to do just that. Maybe it's starting with, I'm terrified to speak in front of 20, but my highest self knows that I can do it. I'm going to commit to speak in front of 5. Or I'm going to commit to even doing a Facebook Live because that scares me. So you find the thing that scares you and you remind your brain, hey, we're not going to die if we do this. We're actually not in danger. As much as our brain is saying that we are, we're not. So let's go do the thing. And if you at your current state of mind cannot do it, putting yourself in the position of what would my highest self do, like the best possible version of me, the version of me that isn't scared, the version of me that does not have fear, the version of me that I desire. Like when I look at so-and-so and they have a quality that I freaking love and I want that, my highest self can do that. Maybe my current self can't, but my highest self can, okay? I think of this all the time. Just like what I was talking about, like I want clients in different time zones. Think of the action steps that I took to even sign clients, that I didn't even know were listening in different time zones. That's the thing. Like people are listening to this right now that may one day be my client, and all I can do is share my message and share what I have to offer and pour my heart out in value, right? But it took me being my highest self to even get to this place. There was once a version of myself that thought I never could have a podcast, but I desired it. I would watch mentors of mine get, announce that they were going to do a podcast, and I would feel this kind of jealousy in my body. Like, I want to be doing a podcast, but I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or I don't know how. And I would be frustrated that I was watching someone else live this dream that I really, really wanted, but I would stand in my own way because I felt fearful. Okay, so what I had to do was say, okay, maybe Macy right now isn't able to do a podcast, but my highest self can. And step number 1 would be to order the equipment. So I ordered the equipment. And the equipment sat in its box for like 6 weeks after it came in from Amazon because I was like, this scares me. What am I going to talk about? I'm never going to know what to say. I don't know how long my episode should be. I don't know if I should talk about things that I teach my clients because will my clients feel gypped, which is so ridiculous, by the way. My coaches like would do free content every single day and sign so many clients because, including me, because it was like, oh my God, if this is their value that they give for free, what is it going to be like when we are working one-on-one together, or I have their undivided attention in a program? And it truly is different. So it's funny that even my brain today gets in the way sometimes of like, well, I don't want to do Facebook Live every day because, what if I talk about something that my clients are paying for in Becoming Her, And it's funny, because in Becoming Her, I'm very vulnerable. Like, they see my coach side and I show up to coach them powerfully, but I also show up real and raw. And so I share with them when I'm having mind drama about something. And on one of the calls that we did, I was telling my clients that I had so much mind drama about doing a Facebook Live frequently because I'm like, what if I talk about something that you guys hear me say in here and then you all hate me because it's like, yeah, well, we paid you for that. Why are you talking about that on Facebook? And all of my clients were like, none of us are thinking that, Macy. Like, truly, it takes like 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 times of hearing the same thing for it to even sink in. So even if you talked about it in Inner Mastery and you talk about it again in Becoming Her, and then you teach it on your Facebook Live, like they were like, it could take 7 times for that to kick in. And it's so true because they're growing and evolving and changing. Like, still to this day, I hear my coach, several coaches of mine that I've worked with in the past talk about the same thing over and over again. And because each month I'm a different person than I was the month before, it hits differently every single time. So it made me laugh when they were like, yeah, girl, you're having all the mind drama. It's not a problem if you get on Facebook and talk about whatever you want to talk about for free to everybody on your Facebook, even if we've heard it in Becoming Her or Inner Mastery or the Money Program or whatever, because it's going to take a bunch of times for it to sink in, for it to actually be something that we apply into our life. Okay. So I thought that was funny, but I had to become a different person to even pull the podcast equipment out of the box and plug it in, to download the programs, the software, to even record it, to, I had to practice the intro to this podcast. I probably recorded that, no joke, you guys, like 30 times, crying because I couldn't get it right. Like what I saw and heard in my head was not what was happening the first, 5, 10, 15, 20 times that I was recording it. And I would like put it away and not look at it again for 3 days. And I would just be like, I can't do a podcast. I can't. Current Macy couldn't, but my highest self could. And my highest self is what helped me persevere. Every time I wanted to give up on myself, I thought about who I wanted to be, and who I wanted to be was someone that was podcasting. So every single time I felt like I can't do this anymore, I would, because my highest self could. The best version of me, the version of me that is just not scared, the version of me that's successful, the version of me that I desire, the version of me, that is able to have the choice to leave occupational therapy because my coaching business is thriving. Like, that version of me can do a podcast. So that version of me is going to help me pull that podcast equipment back out and record the intro as many times as it takes to get it done. And that's what happened. Same thing with the episodes, right? Like, it's just persistent and consistent effort of knowing, like, this is your highest self. Your highest self can do it. And so it's the same way with any of my programs. Last year was the first year that I launched my Inner Mastery program. And that is a 12-week course where we focus on all of the inner work, like a lot of the things that we talk about in this podcast, but think 10 times deeper and with your specific situation. I think that's what makes it so special, is that although I've taught several of the principles, here on the podcast, it's different when you have a coach that is personally hearing your situation and your quote unquote, but this, but that. When I am able to hear that in your specific scenario, I can help you navigate that through using the tools. So, Inner Mastery launched for the very first time ever last year, the beginning of last year in January. And I did 3 rounds, and so many women went through that program and had full-blown transformations. But that was scary for me the first few times. Like every time I launched it, I was fearful, like, holy crap, what if only one person signs up? And then I just shifted my energy of like, if only one person shows up, then they're going to get coached really hard for 12 weeks. Like I am going to show up for them as if 30 people signed up for this program. And, my goal is that every single time that I launch it, hopefully it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's more people that want to dive in and do the inner work. But there's still fear, each time I launch something like, are people going to sign up? Like, are they interested in this? Do they want to learn this? And it takes the inner work to keep going, to keep putting yourself out there, because sometimes you're expecting 40 people to sign up for your program and you might have 8, and that's the reality of it. Business is messy and hard sometimes. It's not always glamorous. Like, sure, those days come in where you're celebrating. I saw a meme. I'm sorry, you guys, I got distracted, but I saw a meme the other day that made me laugh so hard. It was about entrepreneur life. So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, you understand. And if you're not, but you've been thinking about it, I want you to really take this in. But it was like something along the lines of, one day you're thinking, oh my God, $300 came in. I'm killing this. I'm doing so good in my business. $300 in one day. Next day or next 4 days, zero money. And then your thought is, oh my God, I'm going to quit. I suck at life. I want somebody to hire me. I'm going to go get a job and have a boss. And then like the next day, it's $700 payment comes in and it's like, holy shit, I'm killing the business. Somebody play Money Trees by Kendrick Lamar. And I was cracking up laughing because that is true. Like there are days in my business, the best day that I had in my business, I made like $1,800 in one day. And I'm like, holy shit, I barely make this in 2 weeks as an OT. Although I love OT so much, that is barely sometimes what I make. Granted, I work 3 days a week. So keep that in mind because my other 4 days a week are focused on my business. But I was like, oh my God, I made this in one day. But then you go through a stretch of like 7 days where it's like zero. And then you're like freaking out thinking, oh my God, I can't help anybody. I suck. I should not be a life coach. I should just quit. I should stop my podcast. I'm going to go move to Hawaii and like work at an great ice cream shop. A little ice cream hut is what I imagine. Every time I get like in my own mind, I'm like, I'm going to quit and I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to work in an ice cream shop and just keep my feet in the sand and just be happy with no challenges in life. Do you ever do that when you get super overwhelmed or fearful and you just feel like running away is the answer? And maybe like getting just a simple job, I don't know, like petting dogs all day or scooping ice cream, something very mindless feels easier. Oh my gosh, I'm cracking up because it's a roller coaster. So I have to access my highest self all the time, you guys. Like, especially, like, sometimes I get in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's leaving reviews on the podcast. They hate the podcast. I should just quit the podcast. And then, like, 2 days later, somebody will randomly message me and be like, hey, I'm totally random. You've never met me before. I've been listening to your podcast. I'm crying at episode whatever it is, and you're changing my life with this. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing good in the world. So we get in our own way. Fear makes us get in our own way. Like mind drama makes us get in our own way. The way to combat that is the inner work. You have to come back to the reason that you're doing it to begin with. So on the days when I am having really hard days and I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if anybody appreciates this. I don't know if I'm helping people the way that I want to on the scale that I want to. Every time I'm getting in my own mind, I have to remember why I started it in the first place, and it's value, and it's because I'm passionate about what I have to say. I think what I have to say is important, and I do believe 110% that I can help anybody tackle the inner work that they want to do in their life. Like I am non-negotiable that if someone needs help with the inner work, that I can help them through that. And it's that confidence in what I'm doing that keeps me going, and the desire to meet, and reach my highest self, which is constantly evolving and growing. But I'm like, I'm the Macy, like my highest self, Macy, can stand on stage and train people. My highest self can train on webinars. My highest self can continue to do the podcast. My highest self can get on Facebook. My highest self works out regularly and has a freaking toned body, which I'm working on now, by the way. My highest self can stay off sweet tea the rest of my life, which PS has still been a little bit hard, but it's getting easier. So if you missed the whole thing, I quit sweet tea because I had a horrible addiction to it. I think I did a podcast episode on it. Don't know which episode it was. It was recent though. I'm like 26 days, I think, in from no sweet tea at all. And in those 26 days, I went from initially wanting to punch people in the throat to being very agitated, to having bad headaches, to noticing that I wasn't having anxiety anymore, noticing that I felt a lot better, noticing that my nausea and stomach pain had basically dissipated, and that's been wonderful. And recently, I have become the person that likes hot black bean water, decaf, coffee. I'm referring to coffee. I used to be the person that liked way more cream than coffee. Okay. Hazelnut Coffee Mate, to be exact. That stuff is addictive. And I probably drank that from the time my mom introduced it to me in 8th grade up until I quit caffeinated coffee 2 years ago. But even when I would have decaf coffee on occasion, I love the hazelnut creamer, and I would do, like, I think the recommended serving size is like a tablespoon. And I'm not kidding. I would pour, I would say about 1.5 to 2 inches in the bottom of a coffee cup and then pour my coffee on it. So it was basically not even black coffee. It was like white coffee. Loved it. So, and that was my addiction to sugar, right? Well, since I've been off sweet tea, which is the main way that I have been consuming sugar, since I've been off of that, it's been really amazing to see like how my palate is changing. Like now I'm craving just more whole foods, like salads and nuts. And I've never been a fruit person because, again, I don't love sweet. Like when I would consume sugar, it was through sweet tea or occasional chocolate mousse cake or a chocolate chip cookie. Like that's the only kind of sugar I don't like. I don't eat ice cream. I really don't enjoy fruit. Like I don't really love sweet, but I could drink a sweet tea. I could drink a gallon a day if someone let me, like that was just what I loved. So now that I'm not having the sweet tea and I've cut out pretty much the main way that I used to consume sugar, I switched to like protein yogurt drinks and whatnot. Well, one of my protein yogurt drinks that I bought at Kroger last week had 6 grams of sugar, and I was like, that's perfect. A sweet tea used to have 56 for a large sweet tea at Chick-fil-A, just FYI, because I Googled it. It has 56 grams of sugar in one large sweet tea from Chick-fil-A, and I was consuming 1 to 2 a day. That's crazy. I last week bought a protein shake that had 6 grams of sugar, and when I drank it, I literally thought I was going to die. Like it was a yogurt protein shake for 6 grams of sugar. Thought I was going to die. It literally felt like someone was like pouring a gallon of sugar down my throat, and I was like, I want to puke just thinking about it. Ugh. It was so horrible. So yesterday I'm like, I want yogurt like on occasion, but I'm not quite to the point where I love plain Greek yogurt. So I found this brand called Too Good. I think it's TWO Good. And it's because it has 2 grams of sugar. And I bought the coconut and vanilla flavor, and I tried the coconut last night, and PS, it is amazing. So if you ever go to the store and you need a good low sugar yogurt, it's called Too Good. And it was too good. My dog, in fact, licked the cap and was like in my, like all over my arm, and he was just trying to get to the yogurt because it was that good. I don't even know how I got to yogurt from this. I think because I went down a tangent of doing things that are hard and choosing to do them anyways, and how you do that is your highest self. So my highest self knew that I could get back into a routine at the gym. My highest self knew that I could be toned and have the body that I actually really like having. Not that I'm disgusted with my body now, but I know what makes me feel good, and I wasn't doing it because it meant creating a new habit. It takes between like 21 and 30 days to rewire the connections in your brain. So each time my clients are like, I don't know how to XYZ, I'm like, this is going to make you mad, but you have to do it. and you have to do it over and over and over and over again, because right now your brain wiring is so tightly wired in what you're currently doing, that first you have to start unwiring all of that wire that's super tight. So like if you're used to never going to the gym, but you're like, ugh, I hate Susie Joe because she looks so toned and I want to look toned. That's your highest self speaking. Your highest self knows you can have that. That's why we typically feel jealousy or envy. It's like, I really want that. And when you really want it, when it's a desire on your heart, it's because you're meant to have it and you can have it. But currently in your state, let's just talk about, if it's weight related, it feels much more comfortable to continue eating the way that you're eating and maybe not doing the exercise that you should be doing. And you have such tight wiring around that it's going to take doing the actions you don't want to do consistently as your highest self. And what will happen in your brain is that strong wired connection will start to unwire itself, okay? And it's going to be hard every day that it's unwiring itself. Trust me, I know, because of the sweet tea thing. But then when all of that wire becomes unwired, it's like you have two pieces of wire, okay? And now they can rewire to different circuits that are there to support you. So it's like instead of rewiring back to old habits where you're the weight that you don't want to be and you're not exercising, you've got those two wires that you just unraveled, and now you can reroute them to the you that has the toned body, the you that's going to the gym, the you that's eating healthy. And that's going to be hard at first because when you first start to wire those wires together, they're not very strong, okay? So if you're a visual person, I hope this is helping you. They're not very strong when you start to wire them together. So it would be really easy to revert back and do your old wiring, okay? So you have to access your highest self and say, no, we're going to continue strengthening this wire. So it's been 26 days since sweet tea, and it's much easier for me to not need it now than it was, even 15 days ago, where I'm like, it would be really easy for me to just drive through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and go back to my old patterns. It would also be very easy for me to not go to the gym for 3 weeks straight, which I was very close to doing. I had not been in 4 days, and I could feel the wiring in my brain being like, it's just been 4 days. You can go 5, you can go 6. I could tell that my brain was reverting to that old pattern. And I was like, wait a minute, who's my highest self here and who is in the driver's seat? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to California this summer, in the summer when people are going to be in bathing suits. And it's not that I'm ashamed to be in a bathing suit now, but I know what makes me feel the best. And that's when I look my best and I feel most toned and strong. I love whenever I look masculine, with some masculine muscles when I flex, or if I don't flex, I just look nice and toned. You can tell that I work out, but it's not super, super a lot, I remember people used to make fun of me because they used to be like, you look too masculine, whenever I would flex or something like that. And I'd be like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I love myself like this, So it didn't ever matter to me that some people thought that I was way too masculine when I was working out and bodybuilding all the time. But that's what I loved. Oh my God, I loved my body like that. And I love my body enough now, that I can celebrate where my body is right now and know that my highest self is hey girl, let's go get that toned body. And so when I could see just a few days ago where I had been out of the gym for 4 days, I was like, wait a minute, this is not your highest self. This is old Macy and old rewiring. And old Macy is trying to rewire that old connection of laying on the couch all day. But new highest self Macy is like, girl, you want those biceps, you want those abs, get your butt in the gym and get on that Stairmaster and start lifting weights again. And I feel so much better after when I'm doing that. So all of this in this podcast to say that when you feel fear, when you don't want to do the things that you should be doing, it comes down to a decision of, are you going to keep operating as your current self? Or are you going to operate from your highest self? Are you going to face the fears that really aren't any kind of danger, right? Even though your brain's telling you this is dangerous, let's not do this, blah, blah, blah would be easier, whatever it is. You have to really tune into who you desire to be, not who you're currently being today. Because who you're currently being today, with the thoughts that you're currently having today, will keep you in the same place for the next 10 years. And if where you're at right now is not where you want to be 10 years from now, you have to make a different choice, and it starts in the moment. You only ever have the moment. It used to drive me crazy when people would say, the only moment you have is right now. I would be like, no, I can decide tomorrow. But I think we all know that life is short and very unexpected, and you don't know how much time you have left. What you have is right now in the moment that you're breathing. And as long as there is air in my body, I'm going to be accessing my highest self and saying, Macy, who can you be? Like, how are you getting to the next level in your business? How are you getting to the next level in your coaching? How can you help your clients even more? How can you help the people that are strangers that haven't even introduced themselves to you yet? How can you help all those people? And it's not current Macy that does that. It's my highest self that does that. It's my highest self that gets on this podcast every single Sunday to record. It's my highest self that shows up in my Becoming Her program every single Sunday to train, every single Wednesday to do Q&A. It's my highest self that relaunches my programs, even if there have been launches where it hasn't been the most successful or as successful as I've wanted it to be. Like, I believe as long as there's people signing up, then those are the people I'm meant to help in that moment. So whether one person signs up for a program of mine or 50 people sign up for a program of mine, it's no different. Like, if one person says, I need you to teach me this work, then I show up as if I'm teaching 50 for that one person. And that's my highest self, because my current self would feel defeat, like, it's just one person. I wanted it to be 10 or whatever, right? But my highest self is like, no, someone has put their time into you, their investment into you for you to teach them something. Be like top notch for that one person or those 50 people or those 10 people or those 6 people or whatever. So go do what you need to do as your highest self. If you cannot get your current self to do it, your highest self can. The desires placed in your heart are there because it is your soul guiding you as to what is possible. There will never be a desire placed in your soul that isn't meant for you to achieve, okay? You can have anything you want if you can control your mind. And it comes down to the inner work. Are you willing to face your stuff? Are you willing to look at yourself in the mirror? And if there's things you're not liking and things that feel like demons inside of you because you're just like, I know I can do this, and for some reason I'm self-sabotaging, and you need to do the inner work, I want to let you know that the doors are always open for me to be able to help you with that. If you want lifelong access to me helping you, Becoming Her, the mastermind, may be the best program for you. If you want to work and dive in for 12 intense weeks, Inner Mastery might be the work for you. If you're struggling with money and energy around money, we're getting ready to start that Monday, so it's too late to sign up now, but I will be launching that again. So if you're struggling with mind drama around money and I never have enough and oh my God, I never get to save and I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life, like those very thoughts are what's giving you the results that you're getting currently. So if that's something you want to work on, look for the next time that I launch the money program. If you need my one-on-one attention with nobody else involved and you're like, I need Macy, I need to talk to her for an hour every single week to help me through my life, and I need access to her 24/7 on Marco Polo, which is an app where we can talk anytime, then one-on-one coaching might be what you need. So if inner work is what you need, I have several ways that you can do that with us. You can work with me in my tribe and Becoming Her. You can join Inner Mastery if you need something temporary. You can do one-on-one coaching. You can join whatever. But reach out to me if this is something that you want to work on. I am so passionate about this. Everything always comes down to the inner work. If you're not doing something, there's inner work involved. If you're self-sabotaging, there's inner work involved. If your brain and mind is being mean to you, there's inner work involved. And there's books you can read, this podcast you can listen to, there's other self-help podcasts you can listen to. There's so many things that you can do. But if you need like commitment and one-on-one attention and someone holding you accountable, coaching is a perfect place for that. So I love you guys. I hope that this episode helps you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.